This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
We might just let that play. What do you think?
As long as Facebook likes it, that kind of mute us out.
They won't mute that baby right there. Hashtag Real Race Talk Texas. Showtime, Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez. We do it again. On a magical Monday. Welcome into the Revved Up Sports Show. Hope your weekend was tremendous. How's your weekend, my man?
So far, so good. Didn't have a lot to do on the calendar. Didn't have the show on Saturday, thanks to Texas kicking at 11. But didn't. UTSA was up on the road, so just kind of kick back and no racing to go to. Just kind of kick back, watch a little bit of Talladega on Sunday, and kind of just enjoyed the day.
And we didn't do the show on Saturday that you were talking about, and those Longhorns, they show out again with another great performance. Oh man, I'll tell you, it gets a little frustrating sometimes. It's a real frustrating time right about now if you are just about any Texans. Oh, by the way, if you're just tuning in, if you haven't heard, Bill O'Brien is gone. How you feel about that one?
As a Texans fan, I totally support that decision made by the ownership group of the Houston Texans. I don't care that he was the GM or not. Those would be two big shoes to fill, but thank God, I just think that he just was never able to get over that hump and be able to make that team as good as they can. I mean, good Lord, they just signed a Deshaun Watson to a $34 million deal, and they've gone 0-3. So that should tell you something right there.
Yeah, and Hopkins gets away, and it's just been. It's been really rough. It's been really rough, and that's he's the coach and the GM, so that makes it even harder there as all of that goes down, and the coaching search will begin there. But they have said that it'll be Romeo Cornell at least through the end of the year, unless something changes from that. But lots of folks out there for them to look at. So I don't know, but that is surprising that happens. Right away. Your thoughts on the yellow line situation yesterday?
Man, I'm telling you, there were definitely a lot of people that swore off NASCAR that sure did have a lot of opinions on that finish on social media, as we talked about before we came on the air. I see it both ways. I can see where Hamlin was forced down there. I can see where the 24 was forced down there, and by the 21. I just think that for me, I can understand if you're forced down there, but I think if you're forced down there all day long, whoever got forced down the yellow line did not advance their position.
Right.
The ending of it, you can clearly see Denny Hamlin passing 2 to 3 cars once he got underneath the yellow line. That to me was the difference between the calls. All of the other calls made that day, when the person that was locked below the yellow line, they did not advance, where Denny Hamlin advanced enough to win. As much as I was disappointed with the way that the Matt Benedetto thing was, that was actually fairly consistent with what they had called all day. So I guess I can understand that penalty there at the end. Although I was really thinking that Matty D was going to win that race.
I really thought he was going to as well, and I feel bad for him. I mean, you can see the heartbreak, and I mean, he's just crushed, and his future is in limbo at this point because he doesn't know what's gonna happen next, and I think it's very unfortunate. I mean, because he deserves to be back in that car. That's the bottom line. I mean, they should sign him like right away.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't, and from the sound of his emotional interview, it doesn't seem as though the talks are leaning that way where he's going to be signed again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which was really surprising. But he's had such a good showing. I mean, he made the playoffs and everything else. He's had such a good showing that him getting signed again makes sense. But it also, although granted the musical chairs still aren't over, I think the interesting thing is going to be where Austin Cindric's going to go. I think that's probably the main thing. Where and I think that it's an even kill when you have Matt DiBenedetto and Austin Cindric driving that 21 car for the Wood Brothers. But we'll see. There's no way they go to 2 cars, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but that is a very interesting scenario there, and it's one of the things that we've talked about when it comes to Cup racing on here is, there's this many seats, and there's a lot of really talented guys, so we'll have to see how that all shakes out, but I would love to see DiBenedetto get re-signed there, and it did look like he was on his way right there. He had a lot of folks that were cheering for him, myself included, so Unfortunate there for him. Full Throttle 100 at Citrus County Speedway. Bubba Pollard does it again. King Bubba.
Little controversial finish down there with with Bubba and the local drivers, but I don't know. I can't say that I'm surprised that when those local drivers come in and they got a chance to go toe to toe with Bubba, they try to give it their all, whether it's extracurricular or not.
Yeah. I mean that's the guy comes in and you want to beat him. I mean he's the best in the country at what he does, and obviously you're going to give it everything you have, but. Yeah, Bubba wins again. Cars Tour is getting down to the end there, Bobby, and looks like our man Jared Fryer, I saw in the late model stock cars, I think he's maybe 13, 14-point advantage that he still has, so hopefully that'll be his opportunity to win that title.
Yeah, I think it's 15 points is the last that I saw, but I kind of glanced through it, but definitely not a comfortable margin, but definitely anytime you get double digits coming into the final race of the season, and as well as he's been running, that should be a relatively good point going in. It's better than when you come into single digits coming into the championship finale race.
That is absolutely for sure. Coming up on the show at 7 o'clock, another Legends edition, as we will check in with Robin McCall Dallenbach. We're going to have a great conversation with her, and we'll talk about just a great career that she had here in Texas that stems back, to the early 70s, and she was in a league of her own, man. She was doing, the female drivers and so forth. We've watched them, various points, but man, Robin was doing this stuff as a young up and comer, and man, what a legacy she has, and I think a lot of people don't even realize it.
I think that they'll be pleasantly surprised to find out the history of Robin and all the connections she has to South Texas racing and racing all over the Southeast, really, with some of the different series that she's ran in, which will be a surprise to some, including myself. But not lots of good stuff to catch up with Robin. I think that one's going to be one of our better Legends interviews.
Yeah, and she had mentioned she was a little bit nervous about doing this, but I think she's going to be totally fine. I think she'll be totally fine. It's like we talk about. It's like when people tell us that, everything comes back to them once they start talking. So she'll be totally fine.
Yeah, no, it really does. We just tell everybody take a deep breath, relax. It's just like having a normal phone conversation with us. So that's the way that we tell everybody to relax. Hopefully, Robin's taking a few deep breaths, maybe even taking a shot or two of her favorite beverage, and I think she'll be good to go coming here about 7 o'clock.
She will be good to go. So indeed, that is coming up. Matt Craig in the super late models wins again. That's another guy right there, man. He's been on a really good run in 2020, just winning these late model races.
He's definitely had his issues calm down from what he did there in 2019, but I'm interested to see if that team comes down to the Snowball Derby to see how well that team performs. They've done really well in the Cars Tour, won some bigger races this year, and they've definitely improved the super late model program, but a lot of that, they don't forget about the days that, CNC Broiler, they've been sponsoring race cars for a long, long time. Matt Craig's got a lot of experience within that team, so it's no wonder that he's running so well. But a lot of that comes with a little bit of maturity. He definitely had some issues. Him and his dad had issues with Bubba in the past and a few others. But it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And I think that he's well on the way to being one of the guys that can contend for a win in the Snowball Derby with as good as he's been running.
That's exactly right. And we talked last week here on the program. We talked to our man Brad, and they get the Lone Star 600 done, an overall winner. Another legend that we've had on here, Howard Willis. Howard Willis, I think he was third and first, I believe, was his overall, his whole weekend there. And he takes home the big money, $15K, I believe.
$15,000 for a Bomber Enduro. That's a purse that you don't see hardly anywhere in the country. So that's the reason why, as Brad said, came from all over the country to race. And so it was another eventful 600, but all in all, sounds like it was a successful event. A little medical emergency there during the race on Friday night, but don't have any updates on that. But we'll see if any news develops out of that. I'm sure Brad will call us and let us know. Yeah,
I don't really know exactly what that was all about, but we saw that go down, and a scary moment right there. And a couple of different times there, I would flip on there, and they were piled up a couple of times. So it happens. You have the big one. That's it's a long race. I mean, it's a long race both nights, but kind of it looked like some pretty intense stuff going on early in those races.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, when you have that many cars show up to race for 300 laps, it's going to be some carnage. The cars, so what I could gather is that the cars seem to be closer this year than they have in years past, where everybody was kind of running together in the packs. That led to a couple of more of the bigger bigger pileups that you don't necessarily usually see during an enduro. But I think that everybody brought their A game. Your top half of that field was really competitive. It looks like everybody had a really good time. A couple of local people we know went up there. The Terry Body Shop gang up there. Tommy Garral showed up. Steve Sims was helping him. I think Don Painter ran in that race as well. So Tommy, I think, got 9th overall for the 2 days. So that was a pretty good showing there for Tommy and the TBS crew.
Yeah, really good showing for those guys. Congratulations to them for that. Tim Van Gotten wins night number 1. He's a guy out of Kansas. I-37 in the late models. Cody Hartage, another dude that we've talked to. He wins. Dwarf Cars, Ryan Stoy. Congratulations to him, by the way, for winning that championship over on the Lone Star side. You got Whitaker, Johnny Torres. Then you had Gordon and Maupin there in the limited modifieds. That's a pretty damn good little top 4 right there.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are actually going to be racing against Kenny Wallace and Bobby Pierce coming up here in the next, I think on the 7th, down at LA7 Speedway. So that's a good way to get your testing and tuning going up for the big show there to help out the kids at Lawrence's track.
Yeah, that's super good for that. You can catch that on Race on Texas. And speaking of Race on Texas, Bobby, something that we had talked about coming up the month of October, along with Race on Texas, we will be working with them together to figure out a committee. And during the month of October, we will ballot, or I'm not exactly sure how we'll do it, for Texas Racetrack Promoter of the Year in 2020. And what a year. I mean, if you're going to crown a Promoter of the Year, this is a year to do it, because these folks have been, pulling stuff out of their ass trying to get this done.
Yeah, and it seems like this would be the year that to be the Promoter of the Year, it's hard to choose just one. With all the great ones that were able to show up and show their ability to not only promote great racing, but to be able to find a way to work with their local officials to get racing back as soon as they could. That is the key to how well that will be done with some of the criteria there for the Promoter of the Year. So that's it's going to be a challenge for sure between ourselves and Race on Texas and a few other individuals. But I look forward to the challenge, and may the best of the best win. Yeah,
we'll get a committee together, which, I'll tell you, I'll be very upfront when the idea came about. I'm like, I don't want to be on that committee. Honestly, when you're involved with a few different promoters, you kind of don't want to, and it's just something I want to talk about it, and I want to help promote the award. But we'll get a committee put together. If you folks have someone that you think would sit well in that committee, message us over, because probably, I would say, about 5 people, and let it go back and forth. And maybe here during the month of October, we can kind of bounce that around here on the show and take, feedback. And obviously we know who the nominees are, but that's where all of you folks that watch and listen actually watch, because our listening part is a little bit jacked up over here. It's what I'm doing when I'm turning over here to the side. Tell us why. Let's make the case for them. There's plenty of great candidates there, but you folks are going to be the ones that really validate who gets it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of candidates there for the Promoter of the Year, and we want to see the input. I think that's why the fans get a vote with the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Not that the actual fans themselves get the votes as far as the committee, from the best I understand, but obviously the committee will take inputs and ideas and different feelings from the race fans out there, because obviously the feelings of the race fans is an important aspect of what goes on with the promoters. That's definitely one of the ways that determines what a good promoter does, is how many people understand, especially this year. Yeah. It's really hard to understand how much of a slippery slope it was on. Promoters need people in the stands to help keep the track open, but you have local officials telling you that you can either have none, some, or just a little, and so that becomes the biggest challenge. This year is unlike any other that we will hopefully we only get to experience this kind of deal one time. And we'll get through 2020 everywhere with racing and society and everything else. But hopefully this is going to be a one and done deal for the coronavirus here in 2020.
Yeah. GW Hessong wins in the factory stocks there at 37, and Jared Maupin wins in the modified. So Maupin, man, that's maybe we ought to do Driver of the Year. I think that would be another good one that we should maybe throw together. Maybe we'll do those in conjunction over the month. I think we probably need to let the rest of the season play out, I would assume. Because you never know what could happen during the month of October. Maybe that's a November, December type thing to try to figure out.
Well, I know we do one for the Horn Show, but that's a little different criteria versus what this show would be for the Driver of the Year. So that would be interesting. It'd be fun to try to crown another winner for the awards for the Driver of the Year. So we'll see. be interesting to see how all this is going to shake out. Definitely, it was a shock to hear about it in terms of what we were going to have to do to be part of the crew that so to speak that actually gets to come up with some of the work with the program with Race on Texas to come up with the promoter of the year. So it's gonna be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a really, really good thing and very, very much deserved. And we've got actually that is the brainchild of our guy Phil Whipple. So we'll give credit where credit is due. That's not something that you, I, or Chris David could come up with, without some nudging there. So thanks to Phil for getting that together. Like Bobby said, coming up on the 7th, the big race, the Invitational there at L87. Then on October 10th, on Saturday, you got a huge show out at Texana. So it looks like that is one where you've got that one's going to be pretty packed. I would assume. I saw some hurricane thing again, but I think it's going the other direction, so weather should be good. But I would assume with the landscape of everything going on this weekend that there should be a pretty packed house in Edna.
I know I saw something interesting that Owen had put on the Facebook page that if any of the classes if they go caution free, it'd be an extra $100 to start. Although I don't think that he's going to be able to have that extra payout. It's nice to know that the potential is there, but when you start getting as many cars as more than likely he's going to get down there next weekend, I don't see any of them going caution free, unfortunately.
No, that's just a great promoter trying to figure out a way to tell guys to don't race like they did at Talladega yesterday, for crying out loud. So, I'd love to see that happen. It would definitely make the show a little bit smoother, but just more money there. And I mean, that's a guy right there. I mean, when you talk about promoters of the year, I mean, Owen Pittman's a dude where you throw him right at the top of the list. I mean, because, he inherits a track that had shut down or was on the verge of shutting down, and he's brought this thing back, and they've just been tremendous. They have been tremendous this year.
For the short period that he was able to have that track versus how it's turned out now is pretty amazing. It's one of those to where, like you said, the track was shut down. They'd already gone and Texana had already done and given up a schedule, and everybody had seemed to be really responsive to the schedule with the Dinsmans and all that they were going to do. And then what happened with that? Then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, or I guess probably 6 weeks to 2 months later, come down and announce that that track was going to be closed. And then, lo and behold, about 6 weeks later after that, we found out that Owen gets the track, and as they say, everything else was history. With Owen having to do holding all the hats and still holding quite a few hats in terms of trying to get everything done down there at Texana.
And I love that message that just popped up there on the Facebook feed from Gary Keys, where he said back in the day, what's going on over here, that we would have nominated Slick and Rick Rapp. Absolutely. I would have loved to have sat on a committee back then for that. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine that? So many good ones. Greg Davidson. Talked to Bob Bolin the other night at Houston for a long time. And, man, that would have been fun. That would have been fun.
That all would have been fun in terms of going as far back as we did. But that's the best part about racing is that through all these years, every generation has their top dogs. And I will say that it would be definitely hard to pick one between Slick and Rick and some of those guys with the TADA stuff. So that would be a total big challenge in terms of having somebody that you could vote for without pissing off the other guys.
Yeah. And speaking of top drivers, coming up here at 7, we talked to Robin McCall, Dallenbach. That's I'm not going to say top dog there. She ain't no dog. That is one of my all-time favorites right there is Robin McCall. It was funny when I first talked to her. I was kind of telling her the layout of everything or whatever, and she's like, so what all do we do? And telling her what we do. And I told her, I said, we've talked to so many great drivers. I said, we talked to Freddie Fry right before he passed away, and she said, please don't tell me if I go on there I'm going to pass away. I said, no, I don't think that's, hopefully that's not the case, but that's coming up. That's going to be super good right there. Super good stuff. Back to that super late model race with the Cars Tour. Trevor Knowles comes home second, and Donnie Wilson Racing, man, those dudes. Donnie Wilson has him some kind of operation happening right now.
He's definitely amped it up a little bit with Trevor Knowles. Also, the show favorite Caden Honeycutt was also racing there at the Five Flags for Donnie. Had a good, solid race the whole time. Led a bunch of the race. Ended up finishing second at the end of the day. But looks like Donnie, his whole late model program is turning out top notch. It's always been up there, but now I think he's found a way to stabilize it all. And on top of that, the cars have been having some good luck, and some of the luck goes a long way. 'Cause Donnie's had some pretty bad luck and some and some unfortunate circumstances in a couple of races that him himself has been in. So it's nice to see the Wilson gang getting the benefit of the doubt with the Lady Luck here lately.
Yeah, he's been extremely good, and it is so much that we see, in patterns when we talked to Max Kayas last week here on the program, and all those are at Rev'dUpSportsShow.com, all of those archives. We talked about Max. Max, when the year started out, man, he was struggling. He was fast as hell, but he just couldn't. The luck wasn't there, and for some reason, everything turns around. Lady Luck's on his side, and he's on a tremendous roll right now, and that's what we've witnessed with Donnie Wilson is with his race team is they just didn't have stuff falling in their direction, but man, they are now. They are super consistent. Yeah, no, they've definitely got their act together, and it's nice to see. I mean, Donnie, some people like Donnie, some people don't, and in his mind, he doesn't care whether you like him or you don't, which is what we love about him. He tells it like it is, and that's exactly what we expect and what we want from Donnie Wilson. So it's nice. It's nice to see that team finally getting. We want to see every team do well. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, but as much support and stuff that Donnie Wilson has put into this sport, and definitely racing within the Southeast over the course of the last 15 years, it is finally nice to see him getting something good to show for it with some good finishes, with some good racers as he got put in his cars. And we have watched Donnie where it looks like he's stepping back. You know that he has the yearning desire to be behind the wheel, but we're watching him kind of step away a little bit, and he's out of the seat. I'm sure part of that is killing him, but he's stepping away, and he's getting these young guys in, and they're really doing well. And you have to like that. I mean, congratulations to him. I mean, because Donnie's a good dude. I mean, like you said, Donnie's gonna tell it like it is, and he's gonna piss some people off. But Donnie's a good dude. He's been at this for a long time, and he's a diehard. He's a grinder, man. He's a grinder, and when you see guys like that doing extremely well, that makes it all worth it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just cool to see them have the success they've had, and who knows how many cars he's going to have entered into the Derby. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up having one extra car where he's going to put himself in, especially after missing out last year. He's still got that strong desire to win the Derby down there, so that would be fun to see Donnie get back in the car and try to contend for another Tom Dawson trophy. Yes, sir, it sure would. And would love to see Donnie Wilson out there. Speaking of races, Donnie Wilson is one coming up. We're on the Winchester 400 week, so that's coming up. So that's another really, really good one there. So that'll be super exciting over at the fast half mile, the Winchester 400. That one never disappoints. And I think this year you're going to have. Speaking of top dogs, you have a lot of the top dogs out there, and they're just going to battle for that Winchester 400 trophy. Yeah, nothing like getting the shotgun, the old Winchester shotgun when you win that race. But that's one of those tracks that's got to be on the bucket list. I know it's on mine, Rodney. I'm sure it's on yours too. To just go to the Winchester 400 and watch that weekend and just see how much fun it is. We always have a good time when we go to the Derby, but I think we'd have a good time if we went up to the Winchester 400 next time the schedule allows it. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a great one, and you can check it out. I'm sure that'll be over on Speed 51. I haven't verified, but I'm sure it is because I think Bob Dillner's a promoter there now, so that'll be October 9th through the 14th, the Winchester 400, the big one. It's a fast track right there. That's one of those crown jewels. That is one of those crown jewels that we talk about for the super late models as they will get after it on that big track. What else? There was something, something hit my mind that I was going to talk about. Still back to NASCAR. So did you see Kyle Larson wrote like a little, not like an essay or something. I guess it was an essay that he wrote about through everything that he's been through. How long before we just see him before somebody says, okay, he's going to drive for Hendrick? I mean, how close to that are we? I don't know if we're that close because Hendrick doesn't like it when his drivers race other stuff other than some Xfinity races. Mm-hmm. I just don't see him allowing Kyle Larson to continue to run the World of Outlaws. That's why I think it's a better fit for him to run with SHR, but you don't want to see a guy like Clint Boyer go, but that's going to be the surprise to see if he's still able to run his sprint car program and drive for Hendrick at the same time. That, to me, is going to be a challenge for Kyle Larson. Yeah, and I don't know where everything stands with the with all the stuff that he needs to do to get back in there, but the sport needs him. I think that everything that we've witnessed here throughout this season, I mean, I think you get Kyle Larson back in the mix here, and that's good for NASCAR. I think that heals a lot of wounds, maybe with some fans, and like you said, Bobby, I think some folks just don't want to admit it, but we know that folks are watching the sport, and when you have races like you had yesterday, I mean, that was somewhat of a shit show right there. There's a lot of cautions. I mean, they were extremely aggressive, but I saw people complaining about the aggressiveness, but yet we want aggressiveness. So I don't know where you draw the line there.
Well, it's definitely not the shit show that the Clash was. I don't think you're ever going to get another race like that where everything was as trashed as it was and cars still able to win. I just think it could be the nature of the beast. I think a lot of people were watching it because a lot of people do tend to watch Daytona and Talladega races because they enjoy the carnage that comes along with it. But they're also the first ones to complain about the carnage that goes along with it. So it's one of those things where it's I would say that I haven't got to see any of the preliminary ratings. I don't know if it's going to be the most watched sports event. It was back on network TV. That's another thing. I cannot believe they cut away from the mothership coverage on NBC and flipped over to NBCSN with 5 laps to go.
Well, I think that was because, of course, you had the almighty NFL that was set to come on for the Sunday night game of the week or whatever they call it, Sunday Night Football. And I'm assuming they were trying to keep the timing in line for the pregame show and everything that they do there. But yeah, that was extremely surprising that they cut away from that. And I didn't even realize it happened. I mean, I stepped away and I came back and it was gone. And I just assumed it went to NBCSN and there it was. But yeah, that was very surprising. Very surprising.
Yeah, it was totally surprising to see, and you don't usually see that. That's what was so surprising is that I get the fact that they switched to another network to watch the end of the race, but there's not that many people that have NBCSN compared to the millions of people that were watching on NBC.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems that we have right now with when it talks to viewership and so forth and so on. I mean, a lot of folks they don't have these cable systems and Fox Sports 1 and all of this, so it gets extremely tough. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for NASCAR right now because while they did bring everything back, I mean, now you've got the finals, which will be done pretty quick. The NBA finals. You got baseball. We're into the playoffs now. You got the NFL. I mean, there's so much that's happening. NASCAR, unfortunately, is going to get shuffled to those secondary channels.
Well, I mean, I think that's the reason that there's so many NASCAR races on it now is that the NASCAR fans are pretty diehard and they're going to get the subscriptions to FS1 and NBCSN. NBCSN still has a long way to go before it gets more of the national coverage. It seems to me like as far as the basic sports package, it seems like FS1 and Fox Sports are on those basic sports packages, so you don't have to get like a second tier to end up getting you have to end up getting the Revved Up Sports Show. NBCSN.
No, that's easy to find.
Yeah, that's easy to find. You can find it all in the archives there at revvedupsportshow.com. But in terms of having the universal access to it, I was just shocked that they went from network TV down to NBCSN. Put that thing on CNBC or something else that's on. Put it on a channel that's on basic cable, just like the IndyCar race. Yep. The IndyCar race from Indy, the Harvest GP. That race on Friday was on USA, the USA Network. Granted, nobody watched it because I don't think anybody remembered that it was on there. I forgot to watch it, and I was able to I would have been in a position to be able to watch it there on Friday afternoon, a little bit of it. But, put it on a network that somebody has on basic cable and make sure people know that it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's the struggle that we're going to see. And hopefully we continue to see good stuff in the playoffs. We get people watching and we get people back and we can get through all of this and maybe we just begin to feel some sense of normalcy. Hopefully, is really what we need to start seeing. So, I think one of the things that we'll really begin to do here as we wind down 2020 is we'll start diving in. Obviously, we said with the promoter of the year, that's something that we'll definitely be working on. But to jump in and just recap 2020. I mean, we're going to be doing it with the promoter thing because we're going to be talking about individual tracks, but just to, what we've learned, what we need to work on, just all of this stuff that we'll talk about that has been 2020. I think that's something that we moving forward will begin to start doing here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge to recap everything for 2020, but you gotta applaud everybody for the efforts they put forth in 2020 and how much fun that the racing we've had has been once the racing got started.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But that's moving forward. But right now we are in the moment right now, 7:00, and we told you we had a Legends edition coming up, and I am very, very excited about this Legends edition as we go to the Revved Up Sports Show hotline and we talk to the great Robin McCall-Dallenbach. Robin, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are y'all doing?
We are doing really well. We're doing really well. First of all, we always ask folks, you through all of this mess that we're dealing with, everybody good? Everything good on the home front with health and so forth?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's good here.
All right. Perfect.
No problem.
Good.
Now, see, Robin, I got to say, Rodney gets excited for all of the Legends interviews, but for some reason, he seems really, really excited about this night we get with you. So I got to say, you put an extra pep in his step all week, so that's good. That's really good.
Well, Robin, when you said...
Well, that's nice to hear.
Well, yesterday when you said you were nervous, I mean, I was just being nice. I was going to reply back and say I'm nervous too, but no, it's great to have you. Great to have you aboard. This is going to be fun.
So, Robin, we always start
thanks.
We always start out the Legends interviews by talking about how you got started in the sport and what got you addicted to this wonderful thing that we call racing all those years ago.
Oh, my. I was with my family. I think I was like 7 or 8 at Comanche Park in San Antonio at the Lone Star Quarter Midget track. Mm-hmm. Well, we were actually there for a family picnic, and the quarter midgets were racing there, and we walked over and was watching them, and I was hooked right then. I said, I bugged my dad to death, please buy one. So finally he bought one, and my sister, because she was older, she got to drive it first, and it just wasn't really her thing. She was really good at motorcycles, so she was more into the motorcycle racing. Mm-hmm. And so then my dad let me do it, and that's how it started when I was 8 with the quarter midgets.
Wow. And that's, I know that you started that, and what a career. I saw the stats. Talk about that. You got really, really good at it.
Well, I really loved it. It was my passion. And when I was about 13 or 14, my dad said, hey, do you want to race a bigger car? And I said, sure. So he built me a little Pinto, and we started racing at Pan American Speedway. And I ran there, and then I was about maybe 15 or 16, somewhere in there. And he said, well, do you want to race a bigger car? I said, yeah. So he built me a bigger car, and we raced limited late model at San Antonio Speedway. And then, we went up from there to, just regular late models at San Antonio and raced there. And then we started traveling and raced in the All Pro Series, and then some ASA races, and speed weeks at New Smyrna, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah. Just a great career.
So how big was the transition back in the day between going from the little 4-cylinder class to the limited late models and the street stocks? It seems like nowadays the kids, since they start racing so young with go-karts and Legends cars and all of that they make it look somewhat easier. Back in the day, how hard was it to go from a 4-cylinder to the big V8 cars?
It really wasn't that hard. I mean, it's just, you get your driving style down, and you just acclimate to whatever you're in, and my dad was a big part of that, because my dad built the cars. He was a crew chief. He talked to me on the radio, and, even when I was little, like racing the quarter midgets, he always told me, you're a driver like anybody else. You're not a girl driving, mm-hmm. You're a driver. And so I looked at myself as that. So it was never a problem for me, racing anywhere, racing with anybody, because I was just another driver like everybody else.
Yeah. Let's talk about your dad, Bob McCall. I remember the years there, MC Specialty, you'd see it on the car when you would come rolling out there. But we always ask drivers, that there's a fine line where your dad is your dad, and then your dad is your coach, or whatever it was. Did you all struggle with that, or were there moments where you wanted to choke each other? I would assume.
Oh my gosh. When I was racing in the All Pro Series, he was my spotter. And I don't know. He would just start screaming, yellow, yellow, yellow. and one of the guys, I don't know, it was All Pro guys, was listening to us on the radio, and one of the races, I finally said, you just need to shut the blank up. And he goes, I can't believe that little girl talked like that. It was funny because, my dad would get all excited. But it was great. It was a family atmosphere. My mom went, and, my dad was my coach. And he really, really taught me a lot. He's a great guy. I'm still very close to my dad, and we hang out together, and he's such a craftsman on the cars that he builds, the hot rods, and he was always, our cars always looked great, just mm-hmm. a fabricator. Yeah. So just a great guy.
So you talked about being one of the drivers and not known, didn't want to be known as one of the female drivers, one of the girl drivers. Who were some of your heroes growing up as you were starting to get into the racing stuff? Did you have any particular female driver you were going for? Or did you have any just other drivers that you looked out and said, I like the way that they drive and that's what I want to drive like?
I'll tell you, one of the nicest and best drivers out there to me was Lindley. Butch Lindley,
yeah.
He was, and his son Marty, I still keep in contact with him, but Butch Lindley, he was great. I mean, there was just so many of those guys that treated me good and would help me if I asked them questions. But I just remember, Butch, we sat on the front row of my first all-pro race, and, he came up to me and he said, hey, if you got it, you just at the start of the race, you take it. Mm-hmm. But I was a little intimidated, so yeah. I followed him right behind him. But he was just one of the best guys. And the other driver that I really admired, she was a great businesswoman, was Lynn St. James.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I really liked Lynn. And I was on the pace car team at the IndyCar series for like 12 years, and she was on the team as well, along with some other women drivers. And I mean, we had a great time, doing that. That was when I was into road racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there were so many of those drivers, like, Davey Allison and I hung out. He was just the nicest person ever.
Yeah.
I really thought a lot of him.
So back then, I mean, even like at the local level, obviously there weren't a lot of ladies that raced then. What was it something different? I mean, was there? I mean, obviously you don't want to get beat by anybody, but did you have any problems when you'd beat the guys' asses? And did you feel any friction from that just because you were a girl?
No, but Saturday night racing, how that goes sometimes. There was fights in the infield, stuff like that. But I mean, it was really fun. But I just let my dad handle it off the track.
There you go.
I didn't have to worry about it.
There you go. That's how you do it.
Go see my dad.
That's right.
No, but you have to earn respect. You earn respect on the racetrack, and I think that once you earn that, then they treat you like another driver.
Right.
But back in the day, they would push the envelope, and you had to be willing to crash to prove a point.
Sure.
So me being a girl, they had to know. To me, when I go into the corner and I feel like I'm there, I'm not backing out. Right. So if we crash, we crash. So it only takes one or two of those times.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, we know what's going to happen here.
That's awesome.
And I have to tell you a fun story.
Yeah.
My daughter Kate was racing, and we were at New Smyrna. And I always told her, even the quarter midgets, I said, if you go down in that corner and you're on the inside, you own that piece of pavement and you don't lift. And so she was racing a late model at New Smyrna. And so she did that. She went out in the corner. It was her line, and she didn't lift, and they crashed. And I was so mad. I went up to her, and I'm like, what, why? And she said, well, you told me that's my piece of pavement. I said, but that's your brother. You don't do that to your brother.
I love it. That's crazy.
Funny.
That is crazy. Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
I bet that
so we had a lot of great times.
Yeah.
I bet that was a fun ride home. Let's talk about racing in San Antonio. Who were some of the guys that you got to race against that you really enjoyed the competition down there? Was it all of them, or was there any particular local drivers that you remember racing against harder than the other ones?
No, it was all of them, but Eddie Beerswall and I, we had a lot of battles because we were going for the championship. So there was some really tough racing there with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a year, Robin, there with you guys in the limited late models, and I think it was the first few years that we started going to San Antonio from Austin, where you and Eddie and Terry Edwards and that bunch, you won like 10 features, and I mean you guys, y'all were better than the late model sportsmen. I mean, you guys were the show just with the racing that you guys did.
Yeah, I mean it was great. Saturday night racing, you know how that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember my grandmother in the stands, it was either you were for Eddie or you were for Robin. And my grandmother heard somebody saying something. She said, "How would you like this fist in your mouth?"
Saturday
I was
night
like, "Granny,
racing.
you're not supposed to do that."
Yeah. Saturday nights at Highway 16. Oh, I tell you, good stuff.
Yeah. That was great memories. It was great fun. And, then going on from there and racing in the All Pro Series. And, I learned a lot, and great drivers there. It was, I had a great career. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the transition to the All Pro Series. Obviously, that we've already had some comments on the Facebook page talking about watching you race the All Pro, and you've mentioned it a couple of times. What was the allure of trying to go from the local show to go to that bigger series to try to travel all over the Southeast? I mean, was there one thing that stuck out, or was that just the natural progression for you?
Well, it was to get to the goal of NASCAR. You want to race as much as you can, and, it's a stepping stone. So going from the local, then going to the All Pro Series, and then when we were racing out at New Smyrna Speed Weeks, that's when J.D. Stacy, I don't know if y'all remember him,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He sponsored about 7 Cup cars. He came out, and he saw me race at New Smyrna, and he offered me a test at Daytona in the Cup car, like the next week. So I went and tested for him in the Cup car, that was really awesome, getting on that track.
Yeah.
And then he offered me a 5-year contract to run for Rookie of the Year, and then I was going to move on from there. But then the funding went away, so that all went away, and then I went and raced on the dirt tracks. So I went dirt racing.
Yeah. Those Stacy Pack cars. I mean, I remember there were so many of them. We were actually just popped up a graphic there. I don't know how many people realize when you started at Michigan. You were 18 when you started that in Cup, wasn't it? 18 years old.
Yeah, I was 18 at Michigan.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And so how was that for you? I mean, you're thinking of the quarter midget ride all the way up through, then you get to you go to the local track, you go to All Pro, and here you are at the top echelon of the sport. That had to be just fascinating.
Well, that's what I always wanted. That's where I wanted to go. And when I was younger, my dad and we went to Talladega, and I remember we're sitting in the stands, and he said, "How would you like to race this one day?" And I'm like, "Yep, I would like that." Yeah. And so going to Michigan, I mean, that was really, really cool. But I always just kind of went with it. I never really, maybe because I was so young, I didn't really think a lot about it. It was like this is where I want to be. This is where I want to go. But I was focused on, I just want to do good. I want to be competitive and get to that next level.
Yeah.
So that I just kind of, went with it.
Right. So do you recall, I know that I mentioned it when I talked to you the first time, because speaking of big tracks, Texas World Speedway is the duplicate, or was the duplicate there to Michigan. The race, I think 83 or 82 or 83, you and John Newland there in that Texas Race of Champions. You guys come down, and I thought you were going to win the Texas Race of Champions. How cool would that have been? But just a miraculous finish there at the end. And he got it, but boy, you turned some heads that day at TWS.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a neat track. And, I hated to see over the years it got really rough, and, the pavement. And, I mean, it was just, it was a great track.
Yeah.
But that was fun. I like that.
Good stuff.
So, Robin, you talked about the Race of Champions. Is that what got you to get into road racing after you've had your little stint there with NASCAR? You mentioned that you really enjoyed running the road racing stuff.
Well, it just kind of happened. Whenever I would get a call, you want to drive my car, because back in the day, drivers were hired, to drive for teams, and that's changed now. Now everybody wants you to bring money,
right?
But I got a call about driving it was like the Kelly American Challenge Series back then. So I was like, I just always went where the opportunity came. So the dirt track opportunity came, I took that. The road racing came, I did that. I even raced in a couple of off-road buggies, which was the most fun ever. I mean, that was just a blast. Jumping going up in the air.
Yeah, I bet.
That was so much fun. But I just went where the opportunity came. I drive anything.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So did you once you started doing the dirt stuff? I mean, did you have a preference? I mean, because I know that now there's a constant debate about which is better, and we say on this show it's okay, we can all coexist. But did you prefer one to the other, asphalt or blacktop or dirt? Was there one that was better for Robin McCall at the time?
Well, starting out on asphalt, you were taught to be really, really smooth.
Yep.
You had to be, just super smooth and consistent.
Yep.
And then going to the dirt, it was so different because, you're getting sideways and you don't have to be smooth and you can't be smooth that way. So, but from going to asphalt to dirt and then back to asphalt, the car control that it teaches you is unbelievable because then you're not so worried about a loose race car. You don't care if your car is loose.
Yeah.
But before that, I didn't like a loose race car.
Yeah.
But the dirt helped me with that a lot.
Yeah.
And, my daughter, Kate, she ran on the dirt some too. So I think it helped her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's the best thing to do is dirt first and then asphalt or asphalt and then dirt. But to me, asphalt and then dirt.
Nice. See, I knew
because I think it's harder to go from dirt and then be super smooth on asphalt.
Yeah.
Because you weren't taught that, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense because I know I raced asphalt forever and got on dirt and I was never comfortable sliding. I mean, it just felt weird because you're not taught that. I mean, you're the control. Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. The control just isn't there.
But boy, once you get used to it, it's fun.
I know. That's I never got to that point. I quit or I stepped away. I stepped away before I got comfortable.
So what were some of the tracks you got to race when you were running dirt? Was it any of them around here, or did you get to go across the country running the dirt tracks?
No, up in Kingsport, Tennessee. There's
Nice.
a dirt track up there.
Nice.
And I drove for JD Stacy.
Oh, that's
There.
awesome.
And then I got a call for the road racing, and then a call from Mr. Chapman with the PPG Industries that had the pace car team. So, I would go from, my race to the IndyCar race. I'd be gone a month at a time, and I loved it.
Yeah. Living the dream.
That was
I bet.
great.
Yeah, living the dream. So I saw in your profile. So it said stunt driver. It said stunt driver on there. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I got a call to do some driving and some car commercials. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So I've been doing that ever since. Once in a while, I did some stunt driving in the Bad Boys 2 movie, and then
Nice.
I was a stunt double in a series called Good Behavior. I did some driving in that, and then a whole bunch of car commercials from Cadillac to Subaru, Ford trucks, and the commercials you see the car drive by, but you never see who's driving it.
Right.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, that I really like. That's a lot of fun doing that.
For sure.
And then I was into, I haven't competed in a while. I was into trap shooting.
I saw that.
My thing. I really like trap shooting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do that too.
Man, you're a lady of many, many talents. I'll tell you, it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
I don't know. I just go where the opportunity comes.
So we have an interesting question from our Facebook feed that we're supposed to ask you about the rubber ducks on President George Bush tollway for Geico.
Yeah, I think I did a driving commercial, and there was all these rubber ducks. I think that's what that was.
Hey,
so who told you to ask that?
that's your buddy Bruce Wright.
I was going to say, I knew it had to be Bruce.
yeah.
Hi, Bruce.
I tell you, Bruce, That's a good dude right there. So it's funny. I was telling my wife last night that you were going to come on the program, and I was telling her all about you, and I did tell her. I said I had this tremendous crush on Robin McCall back in the day, and so we're telling her the whole story, and I said she raced with Bruce Wright, and my wife said, Bruce Wright raced? I said he was a very young kid back then.
Yeah, we used to race quarter midgets against each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I can't picture Bruce in a quarter midget. I really can't. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's a strange thing to pick.
Yeah, well, you know what? You know what's even stranger to see? Well, we were at Austin. Our kids were racing quarter midgets, and it was Halloween. So maybe you should ask Bruce about his little Halloween costume he was wearing.
Oh, yep. I think that's going to have to come up.
I have a feeling we'll hear about it in a few minutes.
There was a grass skirt and then coconuts.
Oh my God! See, Robin, you need, if you're available, you need to come to Houston for the October 17th race at Houston Motorsports Park, because he still does stuff like that as a grown man in the parking lot at the Holiday Inn. You need to go.
Yeah,
see
I believe
him.
that.
Yeah. He hasn't changed a whole lot. So speaking of the quarter midget, so have you heard there with the Comanche Park there? They're trying to shut him down again and so forth. That would be a shame, I think, if that happened.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, it's such a historical track there. It's been there. I don't know when they built it, but you know, Terry Labonte, Bobby Labonte raced there. There was, you know, and it's such a family atmosphere, and it's such a great sport. You know, I would really hate to see that track go away.
Yeah, that would suck.
So,
yeah.
So Robin, you've been talking about yourself this whole time. Obviously, lots of accolades for you, but there for a while, you got to be a racing mom. Talk about the transition of going from looking out for yourself racing to start looking out for the kids racing. How was that transition for you?
It was very stressful. Very stressful. But all three kids, you know, were racing, and they were all really, really good.
Yeah.
And they each had a different style, which was really interesting. And, you know, working with them, I really enjoyed that. But it's, you know, sometimes it's like Little League.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, but again, it's such a great family sport that, and my dad was, you know, there the whole time. And my dad basically started all the kids racing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we would go and take them and coach them. And, you know, sometimes me and my dad would butt heads, which was kind of funny. And
still,
yeah. But I mean, it was a great time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So right now for them, is Kate? Are they still competing? Are they competing now? You know, actively competing?
No, they're not racing anymore. We just couldn't get the funding for all of them to race.
Okay.
And so Kate's just graduated college in May.
That's awesome.
So they're all doing their own thing, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have preferred to keep racing, but you know, the sport has changed a lot, and you have to bring a lot of funding. You know, everybody that's a racer knows. They know how that goes.
Yeah. Yep. Very
so
tough.
it doesn't matter who you are.
That's right. That's right.
So Bruce has chimed in and said that you tried to run him over in a Chrysler one night at Comanche Park.
Well, maybe he was just in the way.
That's that makes a hell of a lot of sense. I can tell you that.
Yeah, run, Bruce, run.
Yeah, get the hell out of the way, Bruce. That's yeah. Good luck getting him to run anywhere. So let's go to the shooting. Let's go to the skeet shooting. I saw a video, you and Kate. And again, is that right now? I do spin cycling inside, you know, indoor cycling, and to me, that is the competitive juices that I no longer get racing. Is that kind of what it is with you when you're doing stuff like skeet shooting?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I know.
It's,
yeah.
It's trap shooting, which is
trap shooting.
You know, the clay pigeons. It's the clay pigeons. It's just a different game. Yeah. And I don't know. I just got hooked on it. I went out and was shooting, and I just got hooked on it, and then I was obsessed. And then I need a new gun, and I need this, and then I started traveling. Because you just get wrapped up in it because you just want to win. Mm-hmm. And some of those people, they're so good. I mean, they shoot 200 in a row.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't there. I probably had more gun than talent, but, I enjoyed it. Like, it's just, it's a great sport. And there's two places here in San Antonio, the San Antonio Gun Club and then at the National Shooting Complex. That's where I go out there and shoot at both of those. I haven't been shooting in a while because I've been kind of busy, but I'm going to get back into it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm on the NRA Shotgun Committee too, so nice. I enjoy that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But don't take our guns.
No. Got to have them.
Yeah, and you know who Willie T. Ribs?
Oh,
you know who that is, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Willie Ribs.
Yeah, he lives in Dripping Springs, and his son, Theo, I mean, he is super, super good, and he's like a world champion. He competes in, I think it's speed.
Wow.
But he does really good. You should have Willie on.
I didn't know that he was here. I had no idea that he was here. That's a funny thing. When there are so many people that are here in the Austin area, they're like right under our noses, and we have no idea unless we hear it like that. Had no idea about that.
Yeah, none.
Huh. Yeah,
absolutely no idea he lived in Dripping Springs.
We'll definitely talk. We had Bill Lester on a while back, and that was great conversation right there with everything that was happening at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of stuff going on.
I'm just trying to think between the guns and all the racing. I'm almost out of questions, and we still got some time to go. But
I've got one.
Okay, actually, go for it. Go for it.
So, Robin, I remember, like I said, I was just fascinated with your career. Do you remember? You remember the show PM Magazine? Do you happen to remember that? I'm showing my.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You were on that. You remember that? I was.
I do. I was so nervous. I was 16, and I was so nervous to be on that show. But golly, I remember that.
Yeah,
it's been like forever ago.
Yeah. I remember that we were there the night they were filming it, and we were like, I saw it, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. That was a big deal back then.
Yeah, I thought it was a great show.
yeah, absolutely. I bet you did. I bet you did. Did you tape it? Do you have it on VHS somewhere? I mean, you and I are showing our age here, but anyway, it's.
I know.
It's all good.
I know. I hate that.
We'll start talking about new stuff. Yeah. I'll let Bobby ask you something. He's a hell of a lot younger than both of us.
Not that much. I'm not that much younger than both of y'all, but let's talk about the transition there when you wanted to go cup racing. I mean, at the time you were 18 years old, and the Stacy stuff was right there, and it had all the other cup drivers and stuff on it. Was it intimidating, or was it just you were just driven enough to know, look, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it? I mean, how was that time period for you?
I don't know. That's what I wanted to do, and I loved every minute of it. There was so much that I had to learn. And, a lot of the drivers were very helpful. Yeah. And, I really didn't have any problems, that I saw, but,
Yeah. Yeah. So with you, I mean, so do you still, at this point in your life, do you still watch racing? Is it still something that obviously the interest is there when you've raced the way you have? I mean, it's always there. Do you try to stay away from it just so you don't get further into it, or at what point are you with the sport of racing?
I'll watch it sometimes, but I'm not immersed in it. Nice. I don't, make a point. I have to be home at this time to watch the race, but I still watch the races. If I'm home and they're on, I put it on. Yeah. But I don't keep up with a whole lot of it, anymore.
Would you get back in a car? I mean, if you had the opportunity, would you jump back in and dabble your toe at it again?
I don't know. I think I'm too old.
No.
You're never too old.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. When you're younger, you look at it a little different, that, you're invincible and you're not afraid of getting hurt. You never think about it. And I think when you get older, then if that's ever in your mind, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to, it's got to be all or nothing. And I've just never been one to want to do it for fun, because it's either I'm all in or I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I, you know, now that I'm going to contradict myself, but the off-road buggy stuff was fun. I would do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. That does look like a lot of fun. That does look like a lot. Bruce said that he'll put you in his truck. So you know how that goes. If you go hot lap, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I can only imagine what the radio conversation would be.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, that would be something else. So yeah, I mean, you really were, Robin. You were a trendsetter. I mean, obviously you had, you know, Janet Guthrie was at whatever level. You mentioned Lynn St. James and some of these, but I mean, do you take a lot of pride in that? I hope you do, because you should, because you were doing this when, I mean, it was unheard of. And that has to be something, you know, I would hope that when you really sit back and think about your career, that, man, you accomplished a lot in a time where people really didn't think it was possible.
I don't know. It's probably before my time. And, you know, I don't think that they really knew what to do with me. So I think if it would have been, you know, in these times, I think, you know, I could have went farther, but I don't think that it was just, I think I was just before my time, but I never really, you know, thought a whole lot about it. It was just something that I did. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I was competitive. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to race full time in the Cup Series, but, you know, sometimes the path doesn't take you there. So, you know, you just have to go where the path takes you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, Robin, speaking of where path takes you, did you get a chance to run at the old Pan Am Speedway before everybody transitioned to Highway 16 in the high banks?
Yeah, that's where I raced the Pinto in the mini stock. I think I was 13 or 14. So that was my first race there.
Yeah. So how was that when the move happened? And again, that's a whole different topic with the way that Highway 16 came to be, and you go from Pan Am to that speed plant out there that you mastered phenomenally there at Highway 16. How was that? I mean, you're used to Pan American, and boom, here comes this place.
Well, you take it slow. You know, you know, every time I would go to a new track or drive a new car, I would just start slow. I would get on the track and just work up speed. You know, every lap, I'd, you know, a little faster, a little more, until you get to that point where, you know, right before you spin, okay, well, I'm at the point. you just, you know, you take it slow, and, you know, you just adapt to it, because driving is driving. It's the same whether you're going 70 or you're going 170. It's you know, when you drive race cars, you have to apply the same thing, because you have to be smooth and you have to hit your points, and so it's just all relative.
Yeah, that's a great way to put that. Yeah, great way to put that.
So I'm going to go back and talk about this off-road buggy. Like, how did that start? Because it sounds like that's been the most fun that you've had in a race car in a long time when you talk about this off-road buggy. How did that deal come apart, and really, what would it take to get you back in one of those?
It was just an opportunity. We were, I don't know, we were at, Wally was commentating for NBC with the off-road series, and one of the teams, you know, we got to talking, and then they said, let's put Robin in. So they put me in for a couple races, and I just, you know, I never laughed so much in a race car ever. You know, watching everybody just cram into the corner and let's see who comes out.
Yeah.
And going over the jumps. I mean, it was a blast. Yeah, I would do that again. I don't think I'd want to do, you know, the long Baja thing.
Yeah.
But, the stadium and the buggies, I would do that.
Didn't you also do what is it called, a lap around America, or what is that?
Oh yeah, One Lap of America. It was kind of after the Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. So I did that twice.
Damn.
And the first time it was me and Margie Smith Haas. She was on the pace car team, and Patty Moise. The three of us.
Yeah.
We had no idea how to work the navigation computer, and we were sponsored by an ambulance company, so we were in an ambulance. And it had the gurneys in there. And then Margie got mad at us because Patty and I were, I guess, playing jokes and stuff. And
right.
so she got it. She said, I'm done. She got out in California and left us. So Patty and I had to drive from California. Well, you have 3 women in a vehicle 24 hours a day. What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, yeah. Not
so
we work out.
We went, all the way from California to Texas, Florida, and all the way back up to Detroit. So, it was fun. We had no idea what we were doing. But we really had a good time. And then I did it again with Irv Hare. Oldsmobile sponsored us. Mm-hmm. So we drove an Oldsmobile, and I did it twice, but it was long.
So when
and we were always late. It was me and Patty and Margie. Yeah, always late to the checkpoint.
Of course. Well, So So I got to ask you, was it like Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise and all them, where they would like play tricks on each other and be speeding, hauling ass through all these places when you shouldn't be? Was it really like that?
I can't tell you that.
No. Nice.
It was an experience. It was fun. No, it was very controlled.
Right.
And very well organized. So, and like I said, you had your little computer navigation, and but like I said, we were always late, so we did have to hurry.
Yeah.
And we were in an ambulance.
Now that would have been something to see. That would have been something to see right there.
That's pretty awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned this pace car team a couple of times. Go more into depth about that, because it seems like you've got a lot of really famous racing women involved in that pace car team.
The pace car team was started by Jim Chapman, and PPG Industries sponsored the IndyCar series at the time. And PPG Industries would bring their customers to the racetrack. They had a huge hospitality tent, and then they paid for all of these. They were concept cars, so they weren't prototypes. They were one-of-a-kind cars. Jack Roush built one. There was different manufacturers and different companies that would build these one-of-a-kind cars, and they were fast. And PPG would bring their customers, like from the automotive industry, from the heads of the, where they build the cars. What do you call those places? I can't think.
The plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would bring them to the track to entertain them and to, use their paint or their windshields or their glass.
Yeah. And
so we would give them, rides around the racetrack in these fast cars. And it was just a great group of women, and we had a really, really good time. And that was the best time in IndyCar racing, I feel, was back then when CART had it.
Yeah.
But, today, I'm sure, it's going well with Roger Penske.
Yeah.
And all, it's IndyCar series is great now, too.
Yeah.
But back then, it was a lot of fun. So we traveled and went to all the races, and we just, it was just a really great time.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was like 6 months pregnant with Jake.
Oh.
And I was still driving the pace car like really fast. And people would come and they're like, I don't want to ride with the pregnant lady. She's going to go slow.
Yeah, right.
I would scare them so bad. It was so funny. At first they'd get in the car and they look at me and I'd say, buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. Buckle up, Buttercup. This is about to get really, really good. That is awesome. I love that. So lastly, let me ask you, you and I have something else in common besides racing. You're in the real estate world there. Your thought, how'd you wind up in that? Mine, I just kind of, I fell into it. I was tired of being bossed around and wanted to run my own company. So I did it. How about you? So how did that come about? That's a crazy world right there.
Yeah, well, we had a ranch here, and I know this sounds kind of funny, but I love land. I love property, and it's just my thing. I would walk around for hours looking for arrowheads and fossils, and I enjoyed that. And so we sold the ranch, and I enjoy helping people find ranches and property, and in the hill country.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy it. And I'm with Texas Hill Country Realty Company. They're out of Bernie. And that's who I'm with.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's my thing. I love it. It's nice to do something that you enjoy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Ranch property is something I really enjoy. I love helping people find places.
Yep, I'm with you.
I have as much fun looking at property as they do.
I know.
Check this out.
yeah, that's a scary part. I mean, I'm out showing property and I see stuff and I'm like, let's see. I'd like to.
I want that.
Yeah, I'd like to do this at the house, or maybe we could do this. And that doesn't work out. It doesn't work out all the time.
Yeah.
I think Bobby's got one more for you that he's pulling off of the Facebook feed, and we'll ask this because I want to know this. I want to know the answer to this one.
Yeah, this one's another one from your buddy Bruce, and he wants to know. Is
Bruce the only one listening?
No, there's a few. He's just one of the only ones that keeps popping up with inside stories. That's what we like about Bruce. He knows everybody, and he's always giving us crazy questions to ask people. But this one, he wants to ask you about the time you were a policewoman.
Oh, that was from that series, Good Behavior.
Ah, okay.
I was a stunt double for one of the actresses, so I had to wear a police uniform and drive the police car.
Ah, nice.
Ah,
nice.
Okay.
So that's what that was.
Yeah, and so
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robin. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that was it.
Tom Taylor is asking. She got to see another driver get her Pinto get upside down at Pan Am before you got to race it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Who was that? Who was that?
My dad. He built the car.
Oh, your dad.
And and he was afraid to let me drive it.
Of course.
So then he let somebody else drive it, and they ended up flipping it in the first race. And I was so mad at him. I said, "See what happened? Why didn't you let me drive it?"
That's awesome. That's awesome. I got to tell you a funny story. So one night I was at Highway 16, and I went down. Remember they used to have the photo booth where you could go buy actual pictures, paper pictures of your of your favorite driver or whatever. I went down there and I had several of you already, but there was one, you were in turn 3 or 4 or whatever, and I told the guy I want that picture, and he said, well, the guy was like, he didn't want to sell it to me. I think the guy wanted to keep it, and it was supposed to be $1 picture, and I wound up paying like $10 for it. So so how about that? How about that for dedication? You were I mean, you seriously were, you were a crowd favorite back then. I mean, folks just loved to see you at 16, and so when you, I'm sorry, one more. So when you got out of the limiteds into the late models, racing with some of those guys, it was like I said, you and Eddie, some of the younger folks. You go up and you got the Bean Bandit and all these other guys, John Kelly, a little different there.
Yeah. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
So how was that transition going from racing, with some of the younger guys and younger people like yourself to racing with those San Antonio Giants?
I'm sure, back then it was probably intimidating, anytime you move up, to another class, you kind of feel a little intimidated, but, I always had, my dad was always, coaching me along, and, you don't worry about nothing. You're a driver like anybody else. Don't you worry about anything.
That's awesome.
You just drive the race car.
Yep, it showed.
And so I drove. I did not work on the car. So even though he tried sometimes, he's like, "You need to come down to the shop and work on the car." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went down there and he was teaching me how to weld. And then I caught my pants on fire.
Oh my goodness! Hot pants.
Because I was painting something. I got paint remover thinner on my pants, and then the spark hit it and caught my pants on fire.
Nice.
So I didn't work on the cars a lot. My dad and the crew guys did that, but I just drove.
It's good. I mean, that's a good thing. And you did it well.
But he was a great coach.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know.
All right, Robin, I got one more, and I promise this is the last
yeah,
one.
Sorry.
We've said this like 4 times because this has been a lot of fun. You've mentioned all the different cars you've driven and the different drivers you raced against and the different stuff, but not once have you mentioned what was your favorite track and what was your favorite car to drive. Is there a way to out of all the vehicles you've driven and all the places you've raced, are there one of each of those that sticks out in your mind? And they don't have to be the same class and the same track, just in general.
I don't know. I think, right off the bat, I would say New Smyrna Speed Weeks.
Yeah.
That'd be, that was, we raced, I think it was I don't know if it was a 200 lap race, an all pro race there.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was my best finish in the all pro series was 4th.
Nice.
And I just remember it was so hot, that was, 200 laps. And
yeah.
I was always on the radio. It's almost over. My dad's like, no, it's almost, so many more laps. Hang in there. I was like exhausted. Is it almost over?
Yeah.
And I guess that sticks out in my mind because Darrell Waltrip was, I was racing with him. And I remember this because he just ran me ragged. Yeah. I mean, side by side. I mean, it was the most intense.
Yeah.
And that was one of I felt really an accomplishment because I finished in front of him there. Mm-hmm. I finished 4th and he finished 5th. And that was to me, that was a huge deal because, he was, the king of, racing back then. And I mean, he gave me a run for it.
Yeah.
and my dad, it was funny. Is it almost over? How many more laps?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I got out of the car and I couldn't stand up.
Yeah. I
was just, wore out.
Right.
So I would probably say that was one of the most memorable ones. And then I don't know if you remember Billy Harvey.
Oh, yeah.
Back then. Do you remember him?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we were there and we blew an engine and we were done. We didn't have another engine, and he gave us one.
Nice.
And I think that was his engine. Yeah. He said, "Take my engine. You just use it." Wow. And or else we wouldn't have been able to race.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. I love that Darrell Waltrip memory. Because a lot of young whippersnappers only know him as the boogity boogity guy and the TV guy. A lot of people don't realize how really good he was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and to race on the same track as him was, it was so cool.
Yeah, and you beat him even better. Robin, this has been fun, and I know when we're done, I'll probably have like 10,000 more questions, so I'll just text you.
Okay, you got my number.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I never thought I would hear those words.
Oh,
anyway,
that's recorded. That's going to be in your ringtone now when you call Rodney if you ever call him back. You got my number. Call me.
Yeah. True story.
Well, I really appreciate y'all thinking of me and having me on.
Yeah,
it was really nice. Thank
you. Seriously, October 17th at Houston. If you'd like to come out and watch some asphalt racing, come on out. Come on out and enjoy it. We'll get you in there and come see us. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I'll see if I can do that.
Yeah.
That would be fun. So
yeah.
That's next Saturday.
Yeah, next Saturday. 17th. Big show there into the season finale. Come check it out. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I mean, Jake Wright, Bruce's son. I mean, he's been doing great.
Yeah, he really has. They've got
a good driver.
They got a good program out there. They've got a good program. But yeah, we'd love to see you out there.
All right, that sounds good. I'll try to make it.
All right, take care, Robin. Thanks so much for the time. We enjoyed it. You bet.
Thanks, Robin.
Well, thank you.
You bet. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. There she is, Robin McCall. Again, like we said, and she kind of said it right there. She was just ahead of her time.
I mean, definitely.
Robin had, because I remember watching her, going through the ranks. I mean, she had what a lot of drivers, whether it be male or female, what they lack right now, just the tenacity. She was really, really good. really good.
Well, it sounds like she had that one thing that's missing in a lot of drivers that try to continue to move up in the different rankings is the it factor. It sounds like it's one of those, you don't exactly know what the it factor is. It's hard to put in columns and wins and losses. But just that overall it factor, it sounds like, obviously I never got a chance to watch a race.
Yeah.
But just from listening to her now, it sounds like back in the day she had that it factor, that one undeniable trait that all the good racers seem to have. And it seems like from all the stuff she got to race and all the stuff she got to do, she had that it factor. And it just seemed like, as you said, and as she said, being ahead of her time didn't help out the cause of trying to get to the Cup Series. But she did get to test at Daytona. So that seems, that was probably a lifelong dream there.
She did run those races at Michigan. And I remember, I do remember when she did that, because that was a CBS coverage back then. And they... they covered that, but it wasn't really like it would be now. Like, let's say Hailie Deegan raced at the Roval this week. There would be this coming week. There would be this huge whatever. They just kind of touched on it. It wasn't that big of a deal, but that's a situation where you look back with her. I think had she continued, and obviously life happens. She decided that she was going to be a mom and a wife, and stepped away, and that had to be. Didn't want to ask her that, but that had to be tough for her, because you can tell, still listening to her now, she is 100% competitive, and I think she'd probably still whip some ass if she jumped back out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, it sounds like she's definitely still got that. She's still got that drive, right? She didn't want to just come out and say that she. That she'd hop right into that race car, but you could tell she's still got that drive, obviously, to be competitive in the real estate market. As you know, it's able to come through and just be, you have to be competitive with sales and everything else, and you got to be up and get a go-getter. But it sounds like she's interested enough in Houston to maybe come out. I think that'd be a pretty cool deal to see her come out and be there at the short track racing series there, the season finale there on the 17th.
Heck yeah, we'll let her do the commands, start your engines, and get her out there. That would be super fun. Thanks to Robin for being a part of that. And again, coming up, as we said, on Wednesday, it's the 7th, October the 7th. It's the L87 Invitational there. You've got Pierce, you've got Wallace, and then 10 or 12? 10 or 12.
I think it's 12 total. Yeah. 10 other hot shoes.
Yeah. So they'll get after it, and all of that money, everything that's raised there, you can go to raceontexas.com. That's the only way that you're going to be able to watch it, because obviously Lawrence doesn't have stands and everything out there. So check that out. Sign up, buy that, watch it. It's not a Speed Pass thing. I was hoping it wasn't going to be Speed Pass, because if they're trying to raise money, it needs to be a standalone, and that's what the deal's going to be. And don't bitch about it not being on Speed Pass, for crying out loud, because they're trying to do something really good here. So jump on there and buy that. That looks like a lot of fun. They'll have go-karts at that as well. October 10th, you will have over at, I almost said Goliad, at Edna, you'll have Texana with what promises to be just an action-packed, pits are going to be packed night in Edna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's going to be the show of the year there for Edna, as if the couple of the other 4th of July shows and some of the other quote unquote last minute shows they put together. That one, everybody knows about that one. The people that hadn't had a chance to go out to Edna and Texana Raceway Park, I think this is going to be the night to go. Be next weekend. Mm-hmm. I guess now technically this weekend.
Yeah, still have South Texas still has their show. 37 still has what they'll be doing, as well as Cotton Bowl Speedway. Oktoberfest is coming up, as we were talking with Robin there. October 17th, you'll have still Texas Short Track Racing Series. Don't forget, as we announced earlier, we are going to be doing Promoter of the Year. And really what we'd like to hear from folks, whether it be you can message on the Facebook page there, revvedupsportshow@gmail.com. I mean, tell us why, and it needs to be what I'm hoping that we get from this. Obviously, we know who the nominees are going to be, and we're talking about promoters, the whole state. I mean, not just the tracks that are here central for us. I mean, we want you all to tell us why said promoter should win that award. And really what I'm hoping comes out of it is that we hear so many good things, that we get so much content that we can sit here and talk about all of the good things that these promoters have done. And because there's probably a lot of stuff that's happened that hell we don't know about.
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there is.
Yeah. So we'll have more ideas coming up here in the next few days about exactly how we're going to be doing that. like we said, there's going to be a committee. I saw you thrown out as the chairman of the committee.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
So
what is it when they tell Spider-Man with special powers comes special responsibilities?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Yeah, so I've taken myself out of the. I've got enough things that I'm in the middle of. But like I said, I mean, it's not something that I work for a lot of these promoters, at various times. So it. I think it's something that will really highlight the folks that do a lot of hard work, and we do. We want to hear stories about why so-and-so should win that, because we want to get to tell people those stories.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it too, is we want to tell the stories about the real stories behind all the promoters and stuff that there's a reason why they're mentioned for Promoter of the Year. There'd be a reason why they're going to win Promoter of the Year.
Yeah.
And all of those reasons need to be told on this program, or any avenue at which to get the word out to the masses.
Absolutely. And there is going to be an award too. I mean, it's not just here's a piece of paper, congratulations. We're actually going to have an award. Again, Phil Whipple is coordinating all that, but we'll get the committee in place and we'll have more details about that coming up next Monday as we
Wow.
Damn, that was loud.
Ooh.
So we will have the 2020. It'll be the 2020 Texas Short Track Promoter of the Year. This other computer's been doing weird things all day. I don't know what the deal is. We lost for once. We lost our audio feed. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Our audio feed always works, but we lose that there. So anyway, we'll get you an audio version of this up so we can have that Robin McCall interview. We'll have it podcasted up for you. That way you can run that with you. We'll use the Saturday show exit here. Oh, sorry, wrong one. What a horrible end to a great show.
That's okay.
But good stuff. Get on out, L87, raceontexas.com, as you can check that out. Good show coming up at Edna as well, Bobby. Fun stuff. Legend Series continues. We'll have to get another one in line.
Yeah, they never know who it's going to be. Usually we don't know till after the end anyway, but Robin was a good interview. Lots of good stuff from Robin.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I loved it.
I'm sure you did.
Be nice to someone, friends. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. Have a great week. Stay safe. Enjoy the cooler temps. We're back next Monday. Hope to see you at a racetrack soon. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. #Real Race Talk from Texas. Take care, friends.